As you can see, in front of me there are a lot of wine bottles from all over the wine world. But what do they all have in common? Well, for certain, it's not the bottle shape. And yes, of course, I definitely prefer what's inside, and I bet you do too. But I thought that for once it might be fun to talk about the receptacle itself and what's on the outside, the wine bottle. Because there are some strange, unusual, and almost downright bizarre shapes out there that tell stories of tradition, practicality, and a little bit of creative madness. My name is Jacqueline, and welcome back to our channel, Hourglass of Wine, where we talk about everything related to the amazing world of wine, with the mission to make it a little bit more accessible, a little bit more fun, and more engaging for every kind of wine lover out there. If this sounds like something right up your alley, then please consider subscribing. But let's get started and talk about these funky bottle shapes. All right, so for bottle number one, we are going to start off with this weirdly shaped, unusual bottle from Germany. And I'm definitely going to pronounce the name poorly, so bear with me, but I'm gonna try, and that is the Bocksbeutel. As you can see, it has a distinctive, flattened, yet pot-bellied, almost canteen-like shape. It's technically called a flattened ellipsoid. It looks more like a flask than a standard Bordeaux or Burgundy bottle. This traditional bottle is from a specific German wine region, Franken or Franconia. But let's start with the name. There are two different theories for the origin of the name Bocksbeutel. One theory links it to a Low German word for a small pouch that is needed to carry prayer or songbooks by monks and pilgrims. The other, and certainly more colorful explanation, is that it literally means ram's scrotum, referring to the similarly rounded pendulous shape. Lovely. I don't know about you, but this latter explanation visually sounds more convincing. What do you think? Whatever may be the etymology of the name itself, historically it's the form that will derive from field flasks that were once used in antiquity, where they were deliberately made flat so they wouldn't roll away on uneven ground and could be carried more easily in packs and bags. In Franken, the Bocksbeutel has been documented for winemaking at least since the early 18th century. In 1728, the city council of Würzburg, the capital of the Franken wine region, decided that the best wines from the famous Würzburg Stein vineyard, produced by the municipal Bürgerspital estate, had to be bottled in Bocksbeutel, helping to establish this bottle as a symbol of high-quality Franconian wine. Today, the Bocksbeutel is still very much used and is closely tied to Franconia's dry wines, especially the Silvaner, like I have here, but also wines like Müller-Thurgau, Riesling, that are all wines that are grown along the Main River. And within the European Union, the Bocksbeutel is even legally protected as a specific bottle shape, so this isn't just a stylistic choice. All right, so the second bottle that I want to tell you about is going to be this one here. And it's very elegant and beautiful. But it's not really just a bottle, it's actually a piece of design. Now, this is called the Anfora, as a clear homage to the Roman amphoras, which served as an inspiration to designer Antonio Maiocchi in the creation of this bottle shape that we see used a lot in Verdicchio di Castelli di Jesi. About its origins, though. In 1953, the recently founded winery Fasi Battaglia in the Italian region of Le Marche held a competition for the design of an iconic bottle shape. The competition was won by architect Antonio Maiocchi, and this was an era when, remember, Vespa scooters and the Fiat 500 were transforming Italy. And it was that same creative genius that went into designing a wine bottle with a green, elegant shape that was genuinely inspired by the ancient Etruscan containers and the Roman amphoras. Fasi Battaglia used the amphora as a branding tool to help launch their Verdicchio worldwide in the post-war decades. The bottle quickly became so famous that in the US, it was nicknamed the Sophia Loren for its voluptuous curves. And by the 1960s and 70s, the amphora had become a visual global symbol and synonym for Verdicchio from the Castello di Jesi, even before the DOC was officially created in 1968. And this really did help play a decisive role in Verdicchio's commercial success over the years. However, Over time, part of the market began to associate the amphora shape with inexpensive, mass-marketed Verdicchio, as more basic wines began to be bottled in that shape in order to ride on the popularity. Therefore, today, many leading producers deliberately moved away from the amphora in favor of more traditional Bordeaux or Burgundy-style bottles in order to help reposition their Verdicchio as a fine, age-worthy wine. Now, recently, some producers have begun creating an even rounder, more Baroque version, let's say, but this original Majocchi design remains the true classic. So, for wine number 3, we are moving close to home. This one, in fact, is very near and dear to my heart because every time I see this shape around, it reminds me of Piedmont, especially here in the Langhe, where I have been living for over 13 years. Now, this shape is called the Albeisa, and as you can see from the word Albeisa, embossed on the bottle 4 times around the shoulder here, just so it's recognizable from any angle. The Albeisa was designed back in the early 18th century when producers around Alba, the capital of the Langhe, decided to have a unique bottle shape that was on par with the famous Burgundy and Bordeaux bottles of the time. The commission went to the historic glassworks of Porino near Torino, where master glassmakers crafted this iconic shape with pronounced shoulders, which soon became a symbol of nobility for Piedmontese wines. In 1700s, the bottles were handmade one by one. Over time, artisanal production of the bottles gave way to industrial methods, and the bottle almost disappeared between the 18th and 19th century. However, in 1973, a group of 16 producers from the Alba area, led by Renato Ratti, rediscovered, reshaped, and officially relaunched the Albeisa bottle, drafting a specific statute that governs who and when it can be used. Just the name helps to give us an idea. The people from this area, or Alba, are called Albese, so the Albeisa bottle gives us already an idea of where it comes from and what might be in it. In 2007, a lighter version of the Albeisa was introduced, with about 30% less glass and lighter than a traditional bottle. This helped reduce the glass consumption and reduce the environmental impact of transport and the bottle itself. Today, the Albeisa's use is strictly protected by the Association of Producers of Alba, which authorizes its application for around 300 producers of fine wines who export nearly 18 million bottles to tables and cellars all over the world. It provides detailed guidelines on the grape varieties and the DOC and DOCGs that it may contain, such as Barolo, Barbaresco, Nebbiolo, Dolcetto, and Barbera d'Alba. So for our next bottle, we actually are going to have a series of bottles here. And these are bottles from Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Oh, one more here. So we are going to start with this one, which is perhaps the most famous, the traditional Châteauneuf-du-Pape AOC bottle, with it having the most striking feature being, of course, this embossed crest, a papal tiara above the crossed keys of St. Peter that is surrounded by the inscription Châteauneuf-du-Pape contre le in Gothic lettering. And this is what we often call an armorial or coat of arms bottle. Created in 1937, shortly after the AOC was established in 1936, this bottle was designed to give the appellation a strong visual identity and to signal authenticity worldwide. It's still used a lot today, both for red and increasingly, as this bottle, white Châteauneuf-du-Pape wines, by some historic wineries, such as Domaine des Vieux Telegraphes, like this bottle here, or Pierre Uccello and Domaine de Janas. Next, we have the Mitral bottle, or mitre, which is another classic Châteauneuf shape, and it references the historical papacy of Avignon and the region's deep ties to that papal court. It features an episcopal mitre, or a symbol of the vineyard's spiritual power and religious heritage. Visually, it is still a robust yet deep-colored bottle, but we're going to see the shoulders and the profile are slightly more nuanced than this armored version. This is widely used by negociant houses such as Gigal and Chapoutier, and it is perceived as another traditional form alongside this armored bottle, rather than a merely commercialized one. As well, in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, some larger producers will use custom-made bottles or shapes with customized embossing just for their winery, such as this one from Château de la Garenne, with the name of the winery actually embossed above the papal tiara. We also have this one here, La Fiola du Pape, a ceramic-style bottle created in 1952 by the negociant Charles Brotte. This is inspired by the ancient Provençal and Roman vessels. It's heavier and more sculptural than your regular glass bottle, and it's now become a cult object in its own right. All right, for our next bottles, we are looking at this shape. We have to mention this iconic bottle shape from Alsace region in France. It is called the Flûte d'Alsace, and it is a tall, slender and almost cylindrical bottle when you look at it, and it has a narrow neck with a smooth, softly tapering shoulder. It's usually made in brown or dead leaf green glass, unlike this clear one here, and it gives an aesthetic message to the consumer. The slender shape will visually underline the delicacy, elegance, and aromatic intensity that matches the profile of the Rieslings, Gewürztraminers, and Pinot Gris that are often bottled in these, where florality and freshness are central to the characteristic of the wine. Since 1971, French regulations for the Alsace AOC appellation legally require the utilization of this Rhinish-style bottled, called Avant du Rhin, or For Wines of the Rhine. Specifically, we will see still white wine made from one of the four noble grapes, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Pinot Gris, and Muscat, as well as some other varieties that will be allowed in the appellation, like this bottle of Sylvaner, for example. Now, that same slender bottle shape we are also going to see here in Germany, although in Germany there's no strict legal requirement like there is in Alsace regarding its use. However, this tall flute has kind of become de facto and standard for a lot of German white wines, especially when we're talking about Rieslings. Now, German producers are free to choose from different bottles and shapes and practice, but the tall green-brown bottle like this has just become kind of a standard visual marker for German aromatic wines, especially when we're talking about Mosel, Rhine, and Pfalz wine regions. This one here actually comes from the Mosel. So there you have it. Unique bottle shapes that you can add to your collection. After all, are you truly a wine lover if your interior design doesn't involve proudly displaying some of your more interesting conquests? I know that our house definitely has more than a couple of cool-looking bottles lying around. So thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this fun little exploration of style video, let us know by giving the video a like below and subscribe to the channel for more videos about the world of wine. We do lots of deep dive masterclasses, some fun wine quizzes, and also quick 5-minute recaps, as well as just fun videos about the world of wine like this one. I will see you with the next video, which may I recommend this one here on the wine that is inside the unique Châteauneuf-du-Pape bottles. Cheers!